Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're plunging into a phenomenon. It might sound pretty harmless at first glance, but it can subtly infect entire organizations and, well, lead to some really significant, even million-dollar strategic mistakes.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're calling it Brochure Speak syndrome, our insights today. They're pulled from these really fascinating notes by an anonymous, sharp observer known only as Alan Smithee.
Right, from the deceptive lore of Brochure Speak.
Exactly.
And understanding Smithee, well, that's pretty crucial here. Our sources paint him as a kind of due diligence hired gun.
The hired gun, okay.
Yeah, a master at rooting out, corporate hype, gobbledygook, fuzzy thinking. He spent years working for management consulting, private equity firms, looking at everything, high-tech medical devices, even vulture investing. He had this background engineer, MBA, turnaround manager.
So he knew his stuff.
Oh, absolutely. And he believed his anonymity was key. It sort of liberated him, he thought, to tell the real story, unvarnished.
Okay, so our mission today then, let's unpack this. Let's really explore what Smithee calls this PowerPoint version of reality. We need to understand how it takes hold, how it spreads like wildfire sometimes, and maybe most importantly, what you can actually do to spot it and stop it.
Yeah, in your own context, your own organization.
Let's get right to it then. This Brochure Speak syndrome. What exactly is Alan Smithee describing?
Well, imagine walking into a company, right?
Yeah.
And everyone sounds like they're reading from the same glossy brochure.
Okay.
You hear things like, oh, the future is bright, the markets are huge, the technology, flawless.
Right, the standard lines.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And in that kind of environment, it feels like nobody has ever asked a tough question.
That's the core of it, the PowerPoint version of reality, as he puts it.
That's it. And the real danger, the profound danger here, is that when this brochure speak takes over, it's not just misleading one or two people.
No.
It infects the whole organization. It creates this echo chamber, really. And that echo chamber transforms untested assumptions into what everyone starts treating as facts.
Which sounds terrifying.
It is. And it can ultimately drive a company, straight into the ditch.
Right.
So the question becomes, how does something that feels so benign get such a dangerous foothold?
Y'all, the origin story, it's often surprisingly mundane, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is.
It might just start with a slick presentation, something that just oversimplifies reality quite a bit.
A lot.
Yeah. And from there, it seems like it's almost just human nature. People assume, okay, this duck looks good. It must be backed by deep analysis, solid data.
Someone must have checked it.
Exactly. That crucial step gets missed because nobody verifies. Everyone figures, oh, someone else must have already done that heavy lifting.
And Smithee points out a couple of common ways this really sparks. One is through what he calls white elephant projects.
White elephants.
Yeah, often inherited through acquisitions. Projects the company maybe didn't even really want. But then they get hyped up constantly to justify the deal, right?
Yeah.
Even after the original experts, the people who really understood them, are long gone.
Ah, okay, I see.
Another way is these startup within a company kind of experiments, like Smithee's example, Project Whirlwind.
Right.
Initially, they get autonomy, they're stripped of bureaucracy, seems great. But then, quietly, they start cutting corners. The wrong corners.
Because?
Well, maybe the tech doesn't quite work as promised.
Yeah.
Or the market, actually smaller than they thought. Or sometimes you even see scientists starting to think more like marketers.
Ah, losing that critical objectivity.
Precisely.
And then from those initial sparks, it sounds like the hype machine just takes over.
Completely. You see it everywhere. Press releases, internal newsletters.
CEO speeches.
All feeding the exact same narrative. And in that narrative, risks just seem to vanish. Doubts just dry up.
It's fascinating, though, that Smithee says this spread. It's not really a conspiracy.
No, not usually.
It's just human nature. He uses that great analogy of the telephone game.
Yeah, that's a perfect analogy for it.
Like, picture this. Harry asks Sally, hey, what do you think about Project X? Sally, maybe she remembers a slide deck she saw, or maybe just a quick chat she had with Joe in the hallway. She answers pretty confidently.
Sure, based on limited info, maybe.
Right. But Harry trusts Sally's credibility. So he repeats her points to someone else, maybe adds, a little extra enthusiasm.
And that's how it goes. It spreads incredibly fast. Within months, Smithee says, you see it pop up in the company newsletter.
Then the CEO mentions it at the all-hands meeting.
Right, and before you know it, some trade article quotes the exact same lines, which gives it this external validation, makes it seem even more real.
And the effect on new hires, that's quite chilling.
It really is.
They come in, they hear this consistent story from all directions.
And what do they conclude? They must be the ones who are wrong, so they just fall in line. Which brings up this really critical career dynamic Smithee points out. By the time, say, Harry gets promoted to actually run Project X, often there's nobody left who can realistically challenge the storyline. Or maybe even remembers the original caveats.
And even if they were there.
Exactly. Even if they were, let's be honest, few people get promoted for delivering bad news.
True. The incentive structure works against it.
It really does. Which makes challenging that established narrative incredibly difficult.
So if it's that pervasive, that baked into the system, why is Brochure Speak so stubborn? Why is it so hard to kill?
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Here's where it gets really interesting. It often comes down to these cognitive traps, things our brains do automatically.
Precisely. We see a whole bunch of classic cognitive biases at play here.
Like what?
Well, you've got anchoring bias. That first claim you hear, it becomes your unconscious reference point. Everything else gets compared to that.
Okay, makes sense.
Then there's availability bias. The more often you hear something repeated,
the more you believe it.
Exactly. It just feels more true because it's readily available in your mind. Then you have groupthink.
The pressure to conform.
Right. Dissenting from what everyone else seems to believe feels risky, maybe even disloyal. And finally, confirmation bias. We just selectively notice the evidence that supports the official story.
And conveniently ignore anything that contradicts it.
Or explain it away.
And it's not just our brains playing tricks, is it? You mentioned structural problems, too, within the organizations themselves.
Absolutely. These are huge reinforcing factors. Often management is just, well, they're too busy. They don't have time to really dig into the details.
Right. They rely on the summaries.
Then you've got silos. Geographic silos, organizational silos. They prevent that crucial cross-functional vetting that might catch inconsistencies.
Yeah, different departments not talking to each other.
Exactly. And sometimes there's this culture. It treats deep inquiry, asking detailed questions, as somehow beneath senior leaders.
It's like they shouldn't get bogged down in the weeds.
Right. And kind of underpinning all of this is this often unspoken belief, polished slides equals sound strategy.
If it looks good, it must be good.
Pretty much.
Wow. Okay, so it's vital then to emphasize, once this brochure speak gets embedded, it's not just creating awkward meetings or, ineffective PowerPoint.
No. It goes way beyond that.
It fundamentally drives bad strategy, deeply flawed strategy.
And the dangers here are severe. They're tangible. First, you get this false sense of security.
Right, that assumption. If everyone says it's true, it must be.
Which is so dangerous.
Yeah.
And that leads directly to budget sinkholes. Millions, sometimes tens of millions, poured into projects.
That never had a solid foundation to begin with.
Exactly. They become these huge financial drains. Money that could have been used productively elsewhere.
And what else?
Critically, you miss the chance to pivot. Crucial warning signs get ignored or downplayed because they don't fit the narrative.
Until it's way too late to change course.
Way too late.
Smithee uses that powerful analogy, doesn't he? It's like following a faded travel brochure.
Yeah.
You're smiling at the glossy pictures of the beach while you're actually standing in the pouring rain in front of a half-built hotel.
That perfectly captures the disconnect.
So the big question then, how do we break this cycle? How can you, listening right now, avoid falling into this brochure trap?
Well, Smithee's advice is basically, you need to cultivate a little due diligence detective inside yourself.
A due diligence detective. I like that. How do you become one?
He lays out 5 key steps. Pretty practical stuff. First, show me the data.
Okay. Don't just trust the slide.
Never just trust the slide. A slide is not proof. You have to demand the source. Ask about the date of the data. Understand the depth of the underlying information.
Right. Step 1. What's next?
Step 2, interrogate the origin story. Ask those critical questions. Who originally made this claim? Was it their area of expertise? And crucially, was it ever actually tested? Empirically.
Okay. Dig into where it came from. Makes sense. Number 3.
Look for what's missing. This is huge. Actively seek out what isn't being talked about, what risks, what costs, what trade-offs are being glossed over in the official narrative.
So hunt for the gaps.
Exactly. 4th, seek dissenting voices. Make a real effort. Ask people outside the immediate project team. Go outside the direct chain of command if you have to. Get different perspectives.
Break out of the bubble.
Precisely. And fifth, a really interesting one, retire zombie decks.
Zombie decks?
Yeah, those outdated presentations that just refuse to die. They get passed around, maybe updated slightly, but the core, possibly flawed assumptions remain. They can become gospel over time.
So you need to actively kill them off.
Advocate for it. Kill them before they keep perpetuating false narratives.
Okay, those 5 steps are great. And the sources also mention some red flags, right? Things that should set off alarm bells.
Yeah, quick indicators you might be hearing Brochure Speak. Things like overly optimistic projections with absolutely no downside scenarios mentioned.
Everything's always up and to the right.
Always. Also, when everyone is singing the exact same tune, the identical phrases, that level of uniformity can be suspicious. Market sizes that are suspiciously round and huge. It's a $50 billion market. Okay, based on what exactly?
Right, and success stories that conveniently omit crucial context or complexity. The bumps in the road are all smoothed over.
Those are all big red flags. But there are also countermeasures you can take, things to actively do to stop it.
Okay, let's hear them.
One powerful question to saying here. What would have to be true for this to work?
That forces people to surface their underlying assumptions.
Exactly. It challenges them directly.
Yeah.
Another tactic. Make it standard practice to have someone play the role of skeptic, the devil's advocate, in every major review.
Build the challenge into the process.
Right. And culturally, you need to foster an environment where it's genuinely safe to bring bad news early, not where people hide it until it's a disaster.
That's a leadership challenge for sure.
Absolutely. And finally, regularly cross-check the claims you hear in meetings with the people closest to the front lines.
The ones doing the actual work or talking to customers.
Yeah. They often have the ground truth. They know what's really happening, separate from the PowerPoint version.
Okay. So wrapping this up, the core message here seems pretty clear. Brochure Speak, it feels harmless. Maybe even motivating sometimes.
It can, yeah. It sounds positive.
But its ultimate effect is dangerous. Yeah. It blinds you to reality.
That's the bottom line.
Yeah.
Smithee's central call to action is really, if you want to make better decisions, if you want to avoid those huge million-dollar mistakes, stay curious, stay skeptical.
And never confuse the brochure with the real trip.
Never.
So, thinking about all this, what does it mean for you, listening? Maybe the next time you encounter one of those seemingly perfect presentations or just an overwhelmingly positive narrative, what's the single question you'll ask? What question will you ask to start your own due diligence detective work to make sure you're not just buying into another faded travel brochure?